The successful ingredients for buying a property, they're quite specific, but if you look through each of those steps, they're actually quite common sense. What I'll do first is I'll talk about what the current common paradigm is and use an example of ready, fire, aim. And by that I mean what people typically do is find a property, fall in love with it, make an offer, even go as far as exchanging on what we call a call-off contract, at which point they pick up the phone, call their broker and say, great news, I've just bought a property. People are then rushing to get the loan in place, get things done in time. The structure, the appropriate structure to purchase the property hasn't been considered. Financial planner, accountant hasn't been consulted. So it's all a little bit in the inverse for many people. What we tend to recommend is just flipping that round a little bit and getting the right pieces in place before going out and finding the property. And by that I mean the right strategy. Why are you buying a property? What's the intent behind it? And from that point, if you understand your investment objectives, to then build a brief that is going to fulfill that, finding a property to suit the brief. Secondly, the right structure. Have you consulted with your financial planner? Have you spoken to your accountant? The structure that you're going to purchase the property in, should it be in your own name? Should it be in a trust? Should it be in self-managed super fund? These are sorts of things that need to be determined, put in place before finding the property and before putting pen to the contract. From that point, the right finance structure. It's not just about chasing the lowest rate, it's about the right product to suit your particular needs. So having that in place, the pre-approval in place, valid pre-approval that is, and from that point going out and finding the property. Executing the brief. So the brief should always match the strategy and you should try not to deviate from that. It's too easy to get caught up in dialogue with the selling agents, and naturally the selling agent will be representing the product that they've been contracted to sell. So irrespective of your particular investment objectives, the selling agent's role is to convince you that this property that they're selling happens to be the right one for you, get you emotionally attached to that property, and then set about making you pay too much for it. What we recommend is always coming back to the brief that you've put in place, sticking within that and not deviating. Once you've found the right property, then it's about having it managed by the right person, the right proactive approach. It's not just about collecting rent and the agent then remitting the difference to you. There should be a more meaningful dialogue between yourself and your managing agent about how the property's performing, what the local market's doing. Are we getting the best rent? Is there an opportunity to renovate and add value? Therefore, get an increased yield, opportunity to unlock further equity through revaluation. All these sorts of things to help ratchet up the performance of the portfolio should be considered along the way. Renovation opportunities, if that's appropriate for the property, getting the right advice from the right person to make sure that the renovation is appropriate for the property, for the market, for your tenancy pool. Ongoing review of the property. How is it performing? What's the local market doing? How is the property performing in context of your overall investment objectives? These are the sorts of things that you should, as an investor, should be asking and sharing with your advisors, your accountants, financial planners to make sure that things are performing as per the plan. At the point of selling the property, it's not just about going to the agent who's putting the most literature in your letterbox. It's about picking the right agent, who's got the experience, the track record, the market share, who is the best negotiator, are the fees appropriate, is the marketing appropriate. All these sorts of things need to be carefully considered before actually entertaining the sale of the property. So the full life cycle of the investment needs to be carefully considered throughout, the right steps in place, and looking back on it, it does make sense to have these in place in that chronological order.